Hi, I'm your host, Larry Smith, and you're listening to Speak Out Podcast, a community outreach of the Lawrence County Career Technical Center in Moulton, Alabama. Today, my co-host is Cole Borden, who's a senior at Hatton High School and a student in Mr. Redding's industrial maintenance class here at LCCTC. Hi, Cole. Let's welcome our guest to the show.
Hi, Larry. We're excited to introduce our guest for the podcast, Miss Lindsay Gosnell. Lindsay Gosnell currently leads the AMTAP Advanced Manufacturing Technician Apprenticeship Program for the Southeast region within Lockheed Martin space. Additionally, she serves as the Lockheed Martin lead in the community, partnering with local high schools, colleges, and chambers to help with recruitment for the apprenticeship program. Ms. Gosnell specializes in building effective relationships internally and externally to Lockheed Martin. Ms. Gosnell is a certified Maxwell leadership speaker, trainer, coach, and holds a place of influence in the coaching world. She is active in the Hartsville area Chamber of Commerce and local community. She partners with her financial coach husband, Brent, in equipping marriages and families to develop healthy, rewarding, and successful behavior in their marriages and finances. Ms. Gosnell graduated with honors from Texas A&M University with a degree in speech communication and has served on the leadership teams within churches and communities for more than 20 years.
Welcome to Speak Out, Ms. Gosnell.
Thank you very much.
And let's go ahead and start with our questions. How did you arrive in your position with Lockheed, and could you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
I sure can. So I have a couple of friends, but one specifically who has been with Lockheed Martin for several decades, met her husband there, and I knew she loved her job. I asked her several times, why are you still there? And she loved her team environment, the culture that was built there at Lockheed, and she didn't want to leave. And I thought, well, that's enough for me. So as I was leaving the private sector and coming into the public sector again, I thought, I'm going to give it a shot. Larry, how many times do you think I applied?
One or two.
That would have been nice. 19.
Really?
I applied for 19 positions, and finally, someone noticed me, and we had a great interview, and this is where I landed. So I landed in the perfect place, but I say that to say I have a lot of students that come through, and they think, well, I applied one time. Well, this day and age, you do have to be really tenacious, and so I put myself out there time after time after time, and thankfully I was found.
And what do you do? What is your job?
So I lead the AMTAP program. I wear a lot of hats during my day job. I also am a mom and 4 children. So I have a lot of different hats I put on all throughout the day. During the day, I lead this AMTAP program, which we'll talk about in detail here in a minute, I believe. But it's an apprenticeship program that's recognized by the Department of Labor, and we are an incredible opportunity for students 18 all the way up till 65 to come and learn the basic skills required to be an aerospace technician.
That is cool.
I also, my couple of other hats, I am the government relations lead for Courtland, Alabama, so I interact a lot with our Courtland officials and helping to build infrastructure for future developments that are happening out here too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
It's kind of fun.
Cool.
Your title mentions AMTAP. Can you tell us more about that program?
Yes. So I spend a lot of time talking about this program. I find it to be such an exceptional opportunity for people who are looking for an entryway opportunity into Lockheed. Because, right, took me 19 tries. So if somebody is really good at working with their hands and loves to do that kind of very thorough, very detailed work, AMTAP is a good fit. It stands for Advanced Manufacturing Technician Apprenticeship Program. And so we teach and train in 6 weeks how to build space hardware. Things like cable harnesses that are the brains that go into either a hypersonic missile or a satellite.
Wow.
So taping and wiring, those kinds of detail things. So any kind of student who loves working with their hands. So maybe they're good at building cars or Legos or computers. Anything like that lends them to probably being really good at becoming an aerospace technician. And that's just an entry-level position that provides an opportunity to really a career of a lifetime. And so we pay $15 an hour while they're in class, plus benefits. And then in 6 weeks, if they've graduated the class and successfully passed their certification exams, so they get 2 board-recognized certifications while they're in our classroom. They get soldering and they get cable harnessing. Those are about $3,000, FYI. Lockheed pays that, right?
Yeah.
And so in addition to them being paid to learn, they're given these certifications. And upon graduation, they are promoted to $18.50 an hour and given a full-time status, which comes with 8% matching 401k and $72,500 in tuition reimbursement, among other things. So I'm very proud of this program because I've been a lot of places and I've asked a lot of questions because I want to know, do we in fact have an opportunity of a lifetime? Are there others out there doing it? And yes, there are others out there doing it, but our full compensation and benefits package just supersedes so many others that are out there, especially for a freshly graduated high school student. And so I share very avidly with the community. I'm in local high schools all the time because I've seen it change the trajectory of someone's life. And I find it to just be an exceptional opportunity.
And how long has AMTAP been around?
So AMTAP was started in 2016 in Colorado, and it did such a great job that we launched in 2018 here in Alabama.
You've had other career experiences also, haven't you? Tell us more about what you did before.
Well, as a young college graduate myself, I first sold insurance. So I did cold calls and door-to-door knocking. I did not know what I was getting into, but I learned a ton. And I moved from there into banking, and I loved helping people just meet their needs. So I was on the floor doing customer service. My husband and I then had our first child, and we wanted to partner with a ministry. And so at the time it was called Campus Crusade for Christ. It then changed its name to Cru throughout our journey. And so we were on staff with them for about 10 years, working in local college campuses and doing discipleship and Bible studies and leading small groups and things like that. Loved that. And as a mom, it gave me the flexibility to be home with my kids and do Bible studies in the evening or during nap time. And so that was fantastic. Then I had kind of a health crisis. And so I sought out some health supplements, and they did exactly what they promised to do. And so I jumped into that and started network marketing with a company called Plexus and really loved coaching people on their health journeys. And that sort of merged into life and leadership coaching too. So that kind of brings us to where I was most recently with my husband. We do a lot of just leadership and financial coaching. We always want to encourage people that where they are today isn't where they always have to be, and there is hope, and you can pivot in your life. So coaching is one of my favorite things to do, and I continue to do that in my role.
And it seems like that all those things that you do kind of fit together.
They do. You can see how the passions sort of guide your decisions, and I think that that's important to find the things that you're passionate at and that you're also good at.
Exactly.
I know Lockheed Martin works with defense. Can you tell us more specifically about what happens at Lockheed Martin?
What's your level of clearance? So it's funny because I still barely know what we do at Lockheed Martin. And there are some very high levels of clearance that are required in order to know some of the ins and outs. But we do, I believe, the most incredible mission-minded work that's out there, right? We are the leading defense contractors in the world. And so we take great pride in coming to work every day knowing that the services that we provide are helping to bring people home, right? Our goal is to create veterans. We want to see them come back home and be reunited with their families. So protect and defend is at the core of everything that we do every day. But I think sometimes people think all we do is protect and defend, right? We're also incredibly innovative, and we're at the leading edge of all of technological development with AI and cybersecurity, space, right? We do a tremendous amount of work in space. We helped build Orion, and we're working Artemis. So people that are headed back to the moon and then on to the Mars, we do all of that. And so there's actually a return of a vessel that has been at Mars for the last little bit of time. It's returning to the Earth on, I think, Friday or Saturday. Don't quote me on that, but it's coming this weekend. And so it'll be the first time that we've been able to really dissect and understand some of what is happening on some of the other planets. So we pride ourselves in developing really cool stuff.
So Lockheed Martin develops and manufactures and also is involved in monitoring and maintaining
Yes, sir.
all this stuff.
We do all the things,
All
yes.
Well, you've already touched on this, but talk a little bit more about employment opportunities that are available at Lockheed Martin and the education experience that are needed to get those jobs.
So that's a great question. I spend a lot of time talking about the AMTAP opportunity, right? This learn to earn opportunity, but it is obviously not the only way that people come through the door. And so we have over 116,000 employees around the world, locations literally everywhere. So I always tell people, if you love to travel, this is also a great company to work for. But I would say education is going to depend on what you're passionate about. So I'm a speech communication degree, right? I work in the HR department now, but we have a tremendous amount of engineers of any way, shape, and form, right? That's probably the most highly populated type of degree with Lockheed, but we have IT, we have marketing, we have communications, we have math and science. Really anything that you are interested in is probably a fit within Lockheed Martin, because we do a little bit of everything and require skills from every sector. So even nurses, I tell sometimes that we have there's healthcare on site, and so we even hire nurses. So if someone is interested in coming to work for Lockheed Martin, there probably is an opportunity and a niche for them there. And the key will be, being tenacious, right? But knowing somebody. And so networking around with other people that you know that work there or work within the industry and can give you a good recommendation is going to go a long way. Education is really, it is important. I'll just put a plug in for somebody with military experience. That counts as education in our world. And so if somebody comes right out of the military and joins us, however long they served, counts as education. And so many positions you'll see have a required degree, or they need to be working toward that degree. There's a lot of flexibility, I will say now, surrounding the education sphere, because we really are looking for either the component of experience or the component of education, and or a mix of those.
Is it difficult to get security clearance to have a job with Lockheed Martin? Is that like just a background check? Is that what that is?
No.
Or is it?
Is it difficult? It depends on your past.
Well, I mean, especially
No,
for a young person.
it's really not.
Yeah.
No, I tease my young guys or gals all the time, like, does your mama know what you did, right? Because the government's about to. So a typical position, non-security clearance required, is going to require a simple background check, right? They'll run the simple check. In order to get a regular security clearance, they're going to check on history for the last decade. Who were your neighbors? Who were your contacts? They're going to probably reach out to those kinds of people, previous employers. They're going to do a pretty good dig. Top secret is where they really start to get into the nitty-gritty of all of the connections that were ever made. The majority of our clearances that are required are secret, with a handful of top secrets. And so it's not very difficult at all, and Lockheed Martin will pay for those when it's required.
Is there any support for continuing education with your company?
Definitely. So I mentioned it once before, but one of the most utilized benefits within Lockheed Martin is our tuition reimbursement program. So it's available to somebody day one, which is in and of itself quite an accomplishment. $72,500 that's reimbursed immediately upon completion of the class. So essentially, if you use it correctly, you would only be paying for your first class, and then everything after that would be reimbursed. It's a C or higher in order to be reimbursed, and so you submit your grade when you finish your class, and it's reimbursed the next week. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. And the reimbursement only has to be approved as important to your work. And so I tell people, probably aren't going to be able to go back and do, fashion design and get reimbursed for that. But pretty much anything else, if it's applicable to your work and your job, then they're going to advocate for you to do that. We would much rather people continue to grow and develop professionally and personally and stay with Lockheed Martin. And so we invest pretty significantly in that. And I have several friends right now working towards their PhD on Lockheed Martin's dollars. So it's a really awesome opportunity.
And on that note, then, so opportunities for advancement
Yes.
at Lockheed Martin are definitely there.
Yes, sir.
And can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, I have all kinds of stats on the promotion percentage that comes through Lockheed Martin, especially through our AMTAP. I know that because I work in that realm all day long, but I see the amount of promotions that somebody comes through starting as what we call a level 1 technician. So Lockheed Martin has the leveling system. It's kind of, if you're familiar with that in military and things like that, it's similar to that. And so someone can come in as a level 1 and work their way all the way up to the top. I can think of a handful right now that I work with that came in as 18-year-olds, started as a technician, and are now running programs like NGI. And so we pride ourselves on being the type of company who's always looking to develop internally. We'll always take external as well, but we want to see our people grow and mature. And so that tuition reimbursement offers that opportunity to develop, educationally. But we also have leadership development programs. So people can apply for an engineering leadership program or a operations leadership program, depending on where they want to grow in their career. And that program will actually send them to a different assignment each year, give them the opportunity to experience the way the programs work in other locations. And those are incredibly highly sought after opportunities. So leadership development is the core, one of our largest cores that we function out of. And so if somebody is wanting to grow with Lockheed Martin, they will go as far as they want to go.
What kind of skills would students need to develop in high school to be successful with your company?
Okay, so we are looking for, I say, this is my personal opinion, integrity. Integrity is the most important thing that I'm looking for and that most other hiring managers are looking for. Because why? The work that we do is absolutely mission critical. We have a zero room for errors. Because if there's somebody out there in the field, depending on what we build to keep them alive, it cannot have mistakes in it. Right. And so it's not that we're looking for perfection in the build. We're looking for somebody who's willing to say, I am not sure whether I did that correctly. You know how sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night, you wonder about something you did the day before. Did you actually do that thing? We're looking for those people who will come back the next day and say, can we double check my work and let's just be sure? That's integrity playing out in the workplace, right? All the other skills can be taught. We can teach you how to build things. We can develop you as a leader. But that character foundation is essential for coming through the door with Lockheed because people's lives really are on the line. And so obviously, secondary to that are just those basic business skills, like let's get up on time and show up to work on time. Let's give our full selves to work every day and not just be grabbing a paycheck at the end of the day. But let's really invest in what we're doing and let's give our whole selves to work every day.
Is there a particular skill or skills that are harder to find in employees?
I'm going to still go back to that, integrity being the most important. And so having a really good gut feeling about people is important when you're interviewing because sometimes people will put on a facade and then you find out later that that's not what you expected. So we're always looking for people that can really come with a great reference. But then, of course, there are certain skill sets that are going to be required, and I would say that having that great hand-eye coordination is going to be really important for something like a technician. And then having the ability to be flexible in the workplace. Sometimes things change, and you have to be able to adjust to that change very quickly and be able to maybe put your feelings aside. So emotional maturity is something I talk about a lot with people of all ages, right? But let's have the emotional maturity to be able to take correction and not be offended, right? But just to say, okay, I can do that. Or if something is happening at home, let's not bring that into the workplace. Now, we want you to be your whole self, but let's practice that emotional maturity where we can make good decisions regardless of what might be happening around us. So those are some of the things that I think are where people can grow in their field is let's make sure that we're developing emotional maturity within ourselves too.
What do most people like best about working at Lockheed Martin?
Okay, so there's quite a list here because I just think there's a lot to be thankful for as a Lockheed Martin teammate. And culture is one of the huge things for us. So we want people to love coming into work each day. And I think you'll see that really on any campus that you go to. And I think that's built upon a lot of pride in the mission. People wake up every day knowing that what they do matters. And that gets people excited to come to work. We also are huge advocates for work-life balance. So you'll find that the majority of our positions are 4 10-hour days. So they might work Monday through Thursday and have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, or they might work the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. So we want people to be able to have that equal time with their family as they do at work. So that flexibility in the schedule is fantastic. The benefits, obviously, I've mentioned, are fantastic. They're going to be hard to beat anywhere. So people who are looking to retire early use that matching 401k smart. I have several friends that are in their 50s and counting down the days until they're 55, and they've been smart with their money, and they're getting to retire and start a second career doing, maybe whatever hobby they want to do. So I think there are a lot of benefits to having a great culture, having a great team environment, having some flexibility, and really being advocated for in your career.
What's your favorite part of your job?
I love this.
Do you have a favorite? Yes.
I love being out in the community. You can see that I'm pretty passionate about what we have to offer at Lockheed, especially in a little nowhere place like Courtland that nobody knows we exist. So one of my great missions is to build awareness about our Courtland facility, because we are the Hypersonic Center of Excellency. Nobody knows that, but we build hypersonic missiles out there, and they are needed, right? They were needed yesterday. And so we have a really cool mission that we're working on. We've grown from about 35 employees several years ago to over 380 was the last count I heard. So we are growing very rapidly. And I think that's because there have been a number of us, myself included, who have spent a lot of time out in the community helping people know that what we do is essentially critical, and that there's an opportunity to really build a career of a lifetime in a place like Courtland, Alabama.
What advice would you offer to students who are exploring career choices?
Okay. I could probably give a lot of advice, but tenacity, right? You've heard me say that. Don't be afraid with one no, right? Knock on that door until you get a yes. I just think that sometimes we're easy quitters and we don't continue to work hard at the things that we want in our lives. And so one person's no is going to be another person's yes. So just keep exploring the opportunities. I think that it's important to try things that are given to you. So if somebody says, hey, come check this out, be a yes sayer, because you never really know what might really flip a switch for you and go, okay, that's cooler than I thought. And or the flip side of that is, ooh, I really, really, really don't like that. Because there's wisdom in knowing what you do and do not like. So you want to find a career path that's going to mesh your skills and your passions with something that's going to benefit the company. And so exploring those opportunities and having, flexibility to say yes and then be able to say no, but just going after the things that you want in life. I heard a quote recently that was talking about being an overcomer, right? Sometimes we think, oh, my life has, given me these things. It's been hard. I haven't had all the opportunities that XYZ has had. And so somebody said the other day, that ran in my family until it ran into me.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I thought that's super powerful. We can own that and say, well, that ran in my family until it ran into me. And I changed that, right? I'm a big believer in changing the dynamics within a family and cutting off some of the maybe unhealthy patterns of behavior that we think we're just going to adapt into because it's part of our family. But it ran into me, right? And I said no to that. So I think those are some of the things that I would encourage students to just be willing to work hard at changing some of their thoughts, their patterns, and work hard at what they want.
Well, thank you for being with us today, Ms. Gosnell.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You've been listening to Speak Out Podcast, a community outreach of the Lawrence County Career Technical Center in Moulton, Alabama. I'm your host, Larry Smith, and I'd like to thank my co-host, Cole Borden, and our guest from Lockheed Martin, Ms. Lindsay Gosnell. Please check out our podcast on the Lawrence County Career Technical Center School website, and we hope you'll join us for future episodes.